But what got people all tripped up, and we'll probably be able to play some of the Rogan clip, is he mentioned that he eats one meal a day. Yeah, I mean, he looks like that. he's yeah.
I love that he just destroys people too. He's just kind of chilling in some glasses, holding the pizza.
You know, so it was a no-brainer for me. And my weight is lighter and I feel better because I'm fasting.
And then people are like, it doesn't make sense how he has a six-pack and eats whatever he wants. It's that same guy's voice. We got the same guy.
Probably very chewy.
Fast eater. Epic music.
What Kevin Bass did was he went back 12 years ago.
Nice.
Got a post from Layne Norton talking about his disc herniation, which I think from whatever, I guess from powerlifting. I can't see if it's from deadlift or squat. And then
that kind of stuff's up.
And then this is the one though. Let me make this big. So it's a picture of Jeff Nippard collapsed, but the too long didn't read. Oof, I hurt my back. Oof, I hurt my back. Oof, I hurt my back.
This man is so savage.
I don't really think that you always need to squat with a barbell on your back. But again, a barbell squat is a nice movement because it allows you to handle a lot of weight. Mm-hmm. With great power comes great responsibility. It's a fucking hard movement. It's difficult. So you have to be really cautious on how you organize your body.
You know, I do think that somebody can get big with just dumbbells, but I do think that there is something to overloading with barbells, because that's what I found for myself.
I'm not saying like we're going to debate any of it, but like when you're saying, you know, like decompress after a workout compresses you, because of where I'm at, I would say like I don't want to even get compressed at all right now.
I can understand that.
Have you talked to the most recent person that we had one sent out to?
Penis pump world champion?
Mm-hmm.
Tom Segura?
I wasn't going to say it.
How's that man doing?
Oh, he's been
Did he send you any pics?
Oh, yeah.
Get some pictures, man.
Angry looking.
Yeah.
Oh,
the head is just pulsating.
Power Project family, how's it going? Now, a lot of you guys are lifters, athletes. You're serious about the gym, and we are too. And that's why we've been using Slingshot products for years, all right? You have the original Slingshot, obviously the glittery pink hip circle, which is my personal favorite. But if you don't like that, then you have the normal hip circle that's used to warm up the hips. But on the website, they have tons of equipment, knee sleeves, elbow sleeves, the gangster wraps right there. So you need to go check them out. And Andrew, can you tell them more about it?
Yes, that's over at markbellslingshot.com, and at checkout, enter promo code PowerProject10 to save 10% off your entire order. Links to them down in the description, as well as the podcast show notes.
I think kind of an unknown thing when it comes to like, you hear people talk about like sports nutrition. Mm-hmm. I mean, it would make sense that like better eating is better. But like when somebody's in like the 12th round of a boxing match, again, I think, and I mentioned this on the show before, I don't think the body really knows a ton about whether you had rice or whether you ate Doritos or whether you had cereal or whether you had milk. You know, I don't know. Like if, you know, when you see two fighters and they're at the end and one guy needs the extra little pep in his step for the end of the match or whatever, I don't think it comes down to like specifically, like so specifically on what someone ate. Mm-hmm. You know, so I think as long as like the macros are there and as long as you're not like super dehydrated, like I don't even know. So if I was to eat to mess up my stomach, then it would really fuck up my running. But I think that it wouldn't matter either way. I think I can run similar times. Now, when you get to the tippy top mm-hmm. of what the body can do, or you get towards that, then that's maybe where you might have to pay attention a little bit more. But even as long as your like strength to weight ratios are good, and as long as your body fat percentage isn't so high that it bumps you out of, say, something like the 100 meter, like a 100 meter athlete looks a very particular way. Someone that runs 100 meter that's world class, there's probably not a single male that is above 15% body fat. And maybe even there might not even be anyone that's above 12%. So as long as your nutrition doesn't bump you out of those certain things, I don't think it's a huge deal. And again, if you're not under eating, that would be the other major offender. But if you got everything together and you don't have, again, it also depend on like, do you have a gluten allergy or something like, and you're eating gluten, then of course you're going to have more problems. But if you don't have those problems, then I think I just, hard for me to say it, but I don't think it matters that much on what you eat.
Yeah.
I don't like saying that out loud. But
yeah, no, I don't like saying that either.
Can you just send me that clip? Sorry, I can't.
Oh yeah. And just so you guys know, this conversation is spurring from Joe Rogan recently had on Mikey Musumeci, and Mikey Musumeci is a Brazilian jiu-jitsu.
What a cool name!
Yeah, he's Italian.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I like it.
I like it too. You should like it. You're Italian.
Mm-hmm.
It's your guy right there.
That's my boy.
That's your boy. You guys might be in the same family. Who knows?
You never know.
I literally found it.
It's really. But anyway, Mikey, I think he's a 5-time world champion in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. He trains in a super unorthodox way, in that like he's mentioned how he doesn't go to a normal school to train. What he does is he trains out of his garage, and he has for years, and he'll have people that he calls hobbyists, I think he calls them, where they'll come and they'll train with him out of his garage, and he'll teach them how to beat his moves, so that when he rolls with them, now they know how to defeat his game, and then he can figure out new things to develop his game. And he's a 5-time world champ, even though he doesn't train with super high level people all the time. But the thing that was getting a lot of people was, number one, Mikey is pretty jacked. He is a lightweight guy. I think his weight class is bantamweight, so I'm not sure. Maybe he's like 130, I think 145 or something. But he's lean, and he has a decent amount of good-looking muscle on him. Now he's not the biggest guy, but he is muscular, and he is single-digit body fat. But what got people all tripped up, and we'll probably be able to play some of the Rogan clip, is he mentioned that he eats 1 meal a day. Yeah, I mean, he looks like that. he's yeah.
I love that he just destroys people too. He's just kind of chilling in some glasses, holding a pizza.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. A funny thing is when you actually see him in the interview with Rogan, he's literally sitting in a chair, kind of like the girl you mentioned at the coffee shop, where he's in a chair, but his knee is
just
up
sitting
here,
all crazy.
And he's just sitting like that. And he's been doing jiu-jitsu since he was like 4 years old, right? So his body can just move in ways that most people can't. But like, people got all bent out of shape because he says that he eats 1 meal a day. He trains for hours each day, so he's burning a fuck ton of calories. He also runs in the morning. He runs, I think, an upwards of 5 miles in the morning because he says it helps him get his head clear. And he eats one big meal at the end of the night that he claims is around potentially 5,000 calories.
Just runs 5 miles a day, does jiu-jitsu, probably lifts too, a little bit here and there.
No.
He doesn't lift.
No, his lifting is jiu-jitsu. When you think about jiu-jitsu, like there's a lifting component to it, but that's what he does.
Well, he doesn't have a problem, right?
He hasn't. Yeah,
doesn't have like a issue. The food thing doesn't seem to be an issue. He's not obsessed with food. He's not overweight. He's not underweight. He's not malnourished. Doesn't seem like he's run into like many health problems. He's got a 6-pack and then some, right? He doesn't lack quickness or speed. He doesn't lack endurance, I don't think. Right? I've never seen him roll, but a 5-time champion. I'm just going to assume that he hasn't got to the end of a match before and got his ass kicked and been like, man, I think I need to go back to the drawing board. I need to really look at this. Maybe I need more sleep. Maybe my nutrition needs to be better. Maybe the lifting weights that people have been telling me about, maybe I should consider that. Doesn't seem like it's something that he needs to worry about. So why waste time on something that is not a problem?
Yeah. And that's the thing. It's funny because it's pizza and pasta at night. Do you have it?
Yeah.
By any chance? I want to see if maybe could play some of that.
I guess the one thing that you could potentially say, if you want to try to pick anything apart, is that maybe a healthier practice would lead to some healthier outcomes, maybe. And maybe through that practice, maybe he would even be better than he already is. Maybe.
Potentially.
But like, I think there's a lot of like give and take on stuff. He probably loves eating the way that he eats.
He does.
He probably loves that 1 meal a day. Probably really looks forward to it. It's a routine. And then also somebody that's been competing for that long. I'm sure he's tried a lot of stuff before.
Yeah.
I'm sure he's tried meal prep companies, and I'm sure he's tried to eat, some fucking chicken breasts and stuff like that here and there. And he probably is just like, I don't need to be that guy.
Yeah.
Maybe the other guys do. But I don't need to be that way, and I'm still going to kick everybody's ass.
He probably self-regulated, right? He probably can't, like, if he does need to get a little bit better, maybe like you said, he will address it. But right now he's like, okay, yeah, if I eat clean or whatever cleaner is in your head, if I eat cleaner, I might get better, but why? I'm already winning. So like you could take it that far, but then like for what? Like it's already working right now, so why fuck with it?
You know, the funny thing about clean eating, and don't get me wrong. I think there's like a way to eat healthy, but you know, when people in the nutrition space talk about eating healthy, it's a lot of times within the context of the average American who is sedentary for a lot of their day. They're not moving a lot. Their time of activity is maybe when they're going on a walk or maybe when they're going to the gym, but most of the time they're sitting around. So they cannot afford to eat just first off a lot of calories because their metabolism isn't going as fast as somebody like Mikey, who is first thing in the morning running, right? Then jiu-jitsu for hours during the day.
5 miles is a good amount, man.
It's a good amount, right? For some people, that's like their running volume for the week. This guy's doing that once a day, you know? But he, like literally food is literally fuel to this cat because he's constantly moving. So when it comes to athletes like track athletes, basketball players, anybody in a sport that makes them move a lot and they have to practice and they move a lot, when you see some of these people eat, some people are like, oh, that's not healthy or that's fucking him up, blah, blah, blah. Well, for an athlete, they're burning through it. That's also why when some of these athletes stop doing what they're doing and they eat the same way, they just get out of shape and they get fat because now their athletic practice is gone and their metabolism isn't what it used to be when they were actually doing the thing and they're eating the same way they were. That's very detrimental. But this dude's thriving on one meal a day, big old meal. And it's just fun to see a different style to dieting that like most would say, oh, that's not optimal for performance, right? It's cool.
So this is a 15-minute clip. Do you know?
Well, we'll scan through it. Let's see where it starts real quick.
I just want to add something before you start that up. You know, let's say that he's eating like sugar, right? Like a lot of sugar. Again, it looks like he's burning it up. He doesn't look like he's diabetic. Doesn't look like he's having any problems. Maybe they could do some blood work and maybe they would find that something's a little high or something's a little off.
People like to say he's on drugs.
But he looks very healthy.
Yeah.
And again, he doesn't have any like issues. So even like, why would he even bother to get his blood work done? Which again sounds kind of crazy because some people are obsessed with all that stuff. But like, we didn't used to do stuff like that. We didn't used to examine and check on things. We already know what happens in this country when you check on shit and you test for stuff that may or may not actually be there. It can wreak a lot of havoc and cause a lot of mayhem, cause a lot of panic. And when you do test for stuff, you do find stuff. Like if you keep poking and poking and poking, then you'll find a problem. So if this guy was to do blood work, somebody would be like, oh yeah, look at that. Oh my God, his liver enzymes are a little high. But his liver enzymes could have been high since he was 7 or something. Like, who the fuck knows? It's just really, really hard to know. And we've had guests come on and talk about the seed oils and all these different things. But if you're moving around and you're expending energy and you're keeping your body lean, and you're staying jacked and tan, then there's probably not a lot of things to really worry about in terms of your health.
Okay. Oh no, it's my. Oh, that's what happened.
Eating pasta and homemade pizza and only eating once a day.
Rogan wants that
Every night I eat like this. So how this started was I've been cutting weight and dieting my whole life, right?
Right.
And you almost develop an eating disorder from always dieting and cutting weight for so many years of your life, right? It just naturally happens. So I would binge eat. I would starve. You know what I mean? Like it was very unhealthy the way I would live.
How much weight were you cutting?
Just at a young age, cutting weight, you know, I would always be cutting like 5 pounds, 10 pounds, nothing crazy, but
Big
I've done crazy
percentage
cuts also.
for his
so
weight.
you just die from those also. But all that time, it just messes up your brain where you never feel like you're satisfied and you never are full, you know? So that part of your brain that says, oh, you're full, stop eating, I stopped having from cutting weight so much.
Right.
So what I started doing was intermittent fasting. So I would just not eat during the day. Because honestly, I don't like eating before training. I feel bloated when I eat. So I would just eat at night. But I started just eating the foods I love. I'm Italian, so I grew up just eating pizza and pasta. So I make pizza and pasta every night. I have a pizza oven in my house, and I roll out the dough, make everything. And then for dessert, I'll eat a pint of acai. And my weight would be lighter doing this diet than eating like no carbs and all of these things. So in my mind, I was like, wait, I could eat all the foods I love if I eat once a day at night. You know, so it was a no-brainer for me. And my weight is lighter and I feel better because I'm fasting. So I started doing it.
Wow. So there's no
Very
issue
much
with
positive there. Oh, wait, what else did you say?
performance at all? That, I mean, given your blood sugars and everything like that, when you're training for extraordinary amounts of time during the day and not eating.
So how I see it is I have to earn the food at night. So training all day is like me working for the food at night, you know?
Right.
Okay. That earn your food thing got a few people out of their wits because they're like, that sounds like an eating disorder, right? That's what some people were saying.
But it did sound like he explored some other types of diets and stuff before, right? And he didn't really like the results he was getting.
When he was younger, his coaches had him like do a lot of weight cutting. So he you're at a certain weight, 155 or whatever, and you had to do some crazy weight cutting and get yourself down to like 135, 140, right? So he had to do a lot of that stuff in his youth because he was competing a lot as a youth. But now that's all he does.
I don't really know what Michael Jordan's situation was with lifting, but I don't really think that he lifted much until later on in his career. Until he was getting beat up by the Knicks and the Pistons and stuff like that. And then I think, at least it seemed like, at least that's kind of the story that's told, is that. And so like someone could be like, well, I don't understand, like why wasn't he lifting the whole time? But this is years ago. But also, like, it just, they go together. They make sense. Like, you're going to lift weights and you're going to, like, play your sport. But there's plenty of people that don't lift, and there's plenty of people that don't give a fuck about their nutrition. But when it's time to play their sport, they kick the shit out of everybody. They're really fucking good at it. There's other athletes, like someone like Bones Jones comes to mind. Bones Jones seems to love lifting, and he seems to love training. But I think years ago, it came to him faster than it came to some other people without really messing with a lot of that stuff.
Yeah.
And nowadays you see him like deadlifting like 630 pounds and shit like that. He's a fucking monster. The way he was moving just a couple of days ago, I'm like, man, I just really want to see him get back in the ring so bad. Because it'd be so cool to watch him as a heavyweight now. He's just moving so smooth. But there's just some really talented people out there. And we hear all this stuff about like Tom Brady and what he does. Doesn't look like Tom Brady was doing that before. It looked like he was doing it way after. And it was after what? After he made it to the fucking NFL. Like, that's a huge accomplishment. You know how many people try to make it to the NFL every year? Hundreds of thousands. There's literally kids in Ohio that are boys that are born with a football in their crib. This country is obsessed with professional football.
Yeah.
It's obsessed with football in general. And so many people are gunning for that spot. And it ends up we end up with a wide variety of how hard people try to get there. Some people don't even necessarily try. There's Howie Long, who's a Hall of Fame player from the Raiders, who started playing football when he was in college. He just like tried out for the team. He did pretty good, and then the next year he just crushed everybody. The next year he got drafted.
I wonder what his athletic history was, though, because when he said
I don't know what he was doing beforehand, but that's kind of the story, and it's like, that's pretty crazy because he was incredible, but he also is 6'5", 270 pounds. I mean,
he was doing something.
Yeah, he's a big son of a bitch, So it's you see that in CrossFit too. You hear from like Rich Froning. Like Rich Froning's like pretty much every night eat a sleeve, sometimes 2 sleeves of Oreos, sometimes just pound the whole thing, like 4 sleeves of Oreos, and that's all anybody ever heard. But it's like, do you have any idea what you're talking about here with Rich Froning, how many times a day he trains? There's people that love fitness and people that love training, and they aren't going anywhere near Rich Froning. Like, I ain't hanging out with him because he's going to make me fucking work. We're just going to train all day.
Yeah.
Supposedly that's all he did. Like Reebok and some of these other people, they taken him on like these retreats and vacations and stuff. They're like, he just lifts the entire, he's like, where's their weights? Where's there a gym? Where can we, and then even if there's not something, he's like climbing something or jumping off something or doing something.
Moving is part of that guy's existence.
Always fucking moving. And then people are like, it doesn't make sense how he has a 6-pack and eats whatever he wants. It's that same guy's voice. We got the same guy.
Yeah, and Rich Froning and his team won another.
Yeah, what the fuck?
He's still winning. I know it's a team.
How
but,
old is he now? I'll look him up.
He's probably like early 30s.
I would say mid to late, I think.
Maybe 33 to 35.
Whatever Jason Khalipa is, that's his age too.
Yeah,
think they're-
fucking Jason Khalipa got the
35,
short end
yeah.
of the stick on that one. If he was just a little, if they were just had this age discrepancy, Jason
Yeah.
could have snuck in a couple more victories.
Mhm.
But Jason got his title,
He
right?
did,
That's
yeah.
all that matters.
And then
Jason's
he's
going to
still-
get a Masters World title in Jiu-Jitsu.
Yeah.
He will.
That'd be sick.
Jason's
He will.
But also, Jason, he fucking shared a podium with Rich Froning and Matt Frazier. Like how?
Yeah.
Like that's very fucking accomplished in CrossFit.
Yep.
That's
Oh, yeah,
insane,
that's huge, man.
dude. Yeah.
And Tia Claire Toomey won again, so
course.
she's the most decorated CrossFitter of all time.
Who was
she
the
won.
man who? Oh, yeah. Actually,
Justin
He
won again. Yep.
But she's the most decorated CrossFit.
Yeah, 6 years in a row. Just fucking killing everybody. I want to say, I could be wrong. I think she was an Olympic lifter that got selected for the Olympics. And I think she also parlayed into, goddamn, what's that called? Well, I want to say toboggan. That's not what the fuck is that thing called?
Well,
You push the sled? What's the fuck's this thing called?
Bobsled?
Bobsled. There we go.
Toboggan, yeah.
It's a toboggan, yeah.
I thought of a Jamaican, and then I was like, bobsled.
I don't know why that word just didn't pop in my head for some reason.
Toboggan? What the fuck's a toboggan,
But
bro?
a toboggan's like a hat, I think.
Really?
I want one, whatever it is.
A toboggan. A long, flat-bottomed light sled made usually of thin boards.
Oh.
Okay, yeah.
So
See, you were in the ballpark.
Maybe because your mind is currently in Ireland, you thought of that.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. The curly thing. That thing's sick. You can go flying downhill on that motherfucker.
I love finding new words, especially when they're fun like that, like a toboggan.
Toboggan. A toboggan.
Yeah.
Toblerone.
CrossFit Games was crazy. Did you see the sandbag ladder and stuff like that?
Yeah, we pulled that up, yeah.
Oh, yeah. The
Yeah,
girl doing that 250 pound one. And then
The dude did what?
That girl-
Justin did.
Like 350?
That girl's gorgeous. I mean, there's no other way. There's no other way to say it. Respect.
Yeah.
Respect.
Respect to the wifey and everything, but
Respect.
that girl she's got it going on. She looked great.
Good for her.
What was cool is like when I
It
posted
was already there. I'm on the.
Did you have it saved?
I'm on the Instagram right now.
what was cool is like when I posted it, I was like, oh man, people are gonna be a bunch of dicks. But there were a lot of positive comments and a lot of men and women were like, man, I like her legs. She looks great. People were fired up and excited because I think it's cool. Like I hope you see more people, admiring this kind of stuff.
Dude.
Rather than like putting it down, and almost always you hear all the comments like, she's on steroids or whatever.
That's a man.
Yeah. I mean, there was a small amount of that.
Just because some of these dudes can't handle that.
Oh, yeah, I know.
You're just too weak, and it's okay. Just admit it.
One guy said that young man has a future in bodybuilding. And I was like, there's always somebody, there's always somebody. But I was like, hey, you know what? That was funny.
You go to his profile, it's private.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, right? There's nothing there. Oh, man.
Skinny as fuck, right?
Yeah.
I'm just looking through comments. Fuck, I might ask her to open a jar for me.
Yeah.
Yo, but that's mad impressive, man. Like,
Oh, Natty.
yo, she's going to live a long time. Look at those joints.
I don't understand.
Big wrists.
Andrew, you sent us a clip earlier today of the
Did
Liver
I?
King down in some fucking butter.
Fuck yeah, he
Why are we
was.
talking about this man again, huh?
Did you?
Why can't
Have you ever tried that?
Just
just
straight.
eating butter?
Well, the Liver King has paid me $2,500 per post,
That's what people are actually thinking.
and
now.
then it's $4,000 per podcast. So now, cat's out of the bag. I got to share the money with you guys.
Yeah,
but
you do. Because I haven't gotten shit. Have you?
No, hasn't seen my bank account.
Okay. Well, okay.
But him, serving up that money is really helping a lot. So.
What I will say is,
Quarter stick of butter to the dome.
dude, you got to get the sound in here because
my
the
bad.
sound's actually pretty dope. So we got to restart it. His timing was pretty on the point. So yeah. See that was actually that was good more.
Probably very chewy.
Fast eater. Fuck.
You can probably get a little.
Epic music.
How many calories is that?
What about his cholesterol?
Only in America.
Hey,
Only in America
we
will
got
you
some-
see a man like this stick a whole stick of butter in his mouth and just people eat it up. It's great.
And still
I'm
have
gonna
abs.
eat this Liver King bar right here that we got sitting here.
I already ate mine.
It's it doesn't have any liver in it though. It just says Liver King on it. Can you do that? Is that false advertising?
I don't want to get super hungry right now, so I'm going to save it for later. But it was pretty damn good.
It's
it was
very
pretty
good.
What are the macros on this motherfucker?
220, only 11 grams of protein.
16 grams of fat, 13 grams of carbs, and 11 grams of protein. Okay. It's
Liver
pretty
King, what's up with this bar, man? Can't you throw some beef in here?
Something.
good. Is there, so there's no like organ things in it, right? It's not like it's the fittest. Yeah, I will say this shit does taste really damn good. It does taste really fucking good. Save it for later.
What did Kevin Bass say the other day? We were talking about him bashing some deadlifts, right?
So, my camera's dead. So after we had Doug Brignole on, he pursued a little bit more information on him because he found him interesting. So he bought his book, and since then he's been like, okay, well, the deadlift and the squat don't really make too much sense when you take in all this information. So he's been kind of on a, I'm not going to say rampage, but he's just been kind of basically going after the deadlift and the squat, not being, let's see, how did he put it? I don't want to fuck it up.
Andrew, explain a little bit more about Doug Brignole's case against the squat and the deadlift.
Okay. So with the squat,
Just say in general.
in general, okay, so the squat, we think of the squat for building, we'll just say the glutes. The range of motion that your glutes go into when you're doing a squat is not very, the range of motion is actually very small when you consider just the glutes. So then it's like, okay, well, let's think about the quads. When you look at the quads, same thing. Do like a knees over toes squat, and then you're like, wow, my quads are fired up. But when you do an actual squat, your knee, at the most will get just over your shin, right? It's not going over your toe. So that range of motion is also compromised. The hamstrings, this is where you get, I think it's called reciprocal innervation. So basically your muscles can't do two things at once. So your quads are trying to extend your shin, basically. And then your hamstrings are trying to pull your calf more towards them. I'm trying to explain this all audio through audio. Yeah. So therefore, on the way down, sure, your hamstrings are getting some, but your quads are going to want to take over eventually. But you can't work both of those at the same time optimally, right? You just can't, because your mind has to do one thing or the other.
When doing weight. When
doing a squat. So when you're dropping down into a squat, your hamstrings aren't doing shit. They are, but they are not doing anything optimally, right?
And this is according to Doug Brignole, which is according to like him using like some sort of electronic scanning of some sort.
So yeah, I believe
he researched a lot of those
he
studies.
does that, but what he does is so he focuses on biomechanics. So it's just the way our biology is, and along with like how our muscles actually work. Talking about like muscles want to go back to their origin. So the insertion and origin of the muscles and stuff. So with the hamstrings, again, you can't fire off the hamstrings the same time as the quads. It's just not going to work because your mind can only do one at a time. So again, it's not a really good movement for the glutes. It's not a good movement for the hamstrings. Not a good movement. When I say not a good movement, people, I'm just making the argument for argument's sake right now.
Well, it's also according to just Doug Brignole.
Yes.
We're just trying to make the point. And again, just to keep it super simple, Doug Brignole's whole thing on deadlifting and squatting is just that maybe it's not the most effective towards building muscle mass. Maybe it doesn't do exactly what you think it's going to do. Those are still great exercises to overload the body, but maybe a squat is maybe not overloading the quads quite the way that you think, and maybe the deadlift's not overloading the hamstrings quite the way that you think.
And with all that in mind, especially with the squat, you're putting a lot of stress on your spine because you're loading the bar on your back. And then
I think that's a fair point for sure.
And then with the deadlift, of course, because we are going too heavy, most times when people get hurt, it's because they're doing too much. It's just putting you at a really bad position, which is what Kevin Bass was kind of talking about. So what he said is, so I've been writing that squats and deadlifts shouldn't be recommended to the general public. I want to emphasize that. So the post that got me really excited.
Fuck! I got it, man. He bodied Layne and Jeff, which is sad because I love Layne and Jeff, but he bodied them.
So he's been talking about it for a little bit now, and then so Layne Norton responds, "Keven, you're my boy, but this isn't Whatever, basically saying it to whatever the fuck. He just disagrees with him. Jeff Nippard, I can't read it. He says, "Bro, I love you, but this is really dumb." Oh man, I can't see shit. Here we
I
go.
love when someone says, "I love you."
I love you.
That's always like the setup.
So then,
I love you, but
what Kevin Bass did was he went back 12 years ago,
Nice.
got a post from Layne Norton talking about his disc herniation, which I think from whatever, I guess from powerlifting. I can't see if it's from deadlift or squat. And then
That kind of stuff's fucked up.
it is fucked up.
I don't like seeing people do that.
bringing back all your trauma.
Goes back to 2017 with another article on the same thing. A post from Stuart McGill working with Layne Norton. I can't see how many years
This
ago that
man
was.
has all the receipts.
All the receipts. And then Jeff Nippard, a post from, I can't see, I don't know if you can see it. Let me,
How much time did he spend on this?
a long time. And then this is the one, though. Let me make this big. So it's a picture of Jeff Nippard collapsed
Oh, I remember this video.
in front of a bar loaded up with, what's that, 5 plates? So probably like
Yeah,
550, somewhere in there, 535. Collapsed on the floor because he's injured from
Deadlift.
a deadlift. And then this, he explains everything, writes it all down on a post. So injury from 2016, 17, 18 from Layne Norton, and then Jeff Nippard from 2016. But the too long didn't read, "Oof, I hurt my back. Oof, I hurt my back. Oof, I hurt my back."
This man is so savage. Man, if there's anyone who's good at talking shit on the internet, it's Kevin Bass. I gotta
Yes.
say, he's really great at it.
So at the time that I saw this post, I
man.
didn't see that Layne had responded.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, and it says, can you see that, Nsima? Because I barely can.
Yeah. I don't think ridicule is the correct word. This seems pretty over the top, Kevin. Even if we choose to disagree, doesn't have to be personal.
I'm kind of disappointed, to be honest.
I'm kind of disappointed, to be honest. Yeah. Wow. That shit was that. The way Kevin went about this shit, that was real cold. Like, that was like, oh, y'all want to start? Let me bring all your trauma back and put it on the page.
Sometimes the truth hurts.
Fucking hell, man.
So what I told Kevin, because after I liked this, he DM'd me, and he was talking about, me and him were going back and forth about Brignole a little bit. But I was like, hey, you have to keep in mind that Layne Norton competes. So as a competitor, you
kind of needs it.
You are going to take it this far, and you're going to go like way above, and then sometimes you're going to get hurt because you are pushing it to a whole different level. But I just thought it was such a savage move.
It was heartless. If there's any word I'll put towards this, it's heartless.
Because they were both being cordial, right? They were just like, I love you, but this ain't it, or whatever the fuck they said. And
Jeff said it was dumb.
Okay, sorry.
So-
yeah, I don't remember.
So I guess Kevin took that personally.
It does bring up a lot of good like questions and stuff, and like if someone's trying to argue with you and you're like, I've seen videos of you like literally on the ground
Right.
from deadlifting, like why are you still recommending these movements? It makes sense. We're all kind of in a line of fire, I guess.
Oh yeah.
I don't really agree with making fun of people in that way, especially kind of amongst professionals. It can get a little shady. I'm sure I've done it a million times, but it's not great. It does not a great look for anybody.
Yeah.
And then also
It's not.
making fun of people with like I think an injury is kind of like an unfortunate like medical issues and stuff like that. They're kind of personal, you know, and it's like sometimes maybe a little bit too much of a dig, but trying to stick to the facts. You know, is a deadlift a dangerous exercise? Can it be the roll of the dice?
Can you
Are there a lot of people? Are there a lot of people that have used? You know, do we know high level people that have used deadlifts and squats reasonably that haven't gotten hurt? It's like probably not.
Look at this though. Like, this is the thing. I think this is the distinction. You see this top set that this guy's doing now. You see the way, like, how his whole body is straining to
Engaged.
Yep. Right. This is the thing. It's like the deadlift can be a great movement, but it's with where Layne and Jeff and even ourselves, where we've taken the deadlift, that's where the risk can absolutely outweigh the reward.
Yeah.
Do you have, like, if you're someone who's not competing in powerlifting and you're not trying to get the highest fucking deadlift possible, do you have to be deadlifting 500 pounds? It's a great goal. Don't get me wrong. It's an awesome goal, especially if you're really getting into like lifting. But if you're not a power lifter, number one, I don't think getting to 500 pounds is a bad or unsafe thing. But the thing is people always do it too fast.
Yeah.
People always start lifting weights too fast. They start to get stronger, and then they just want to see the weight on the bar go up. So their deadlift will look as like, look at the way that this guy, even though it moves, like, look how hard he's straining for that lift with that much weight. I would honestly say if you're someone who's not competing and you're trying to deadlift for your health, you want to ideally, you shouldn't be looking like that when you're deadlifting.
This guy actually had, like, you got to give him some credit. He had some pretty decent form. Like, he was trying to lock it in. He did one rep. The rep was pretty clean. He went for another one. What I would kind of say is that it was probably some workouts leading up to this workout where he has probably been lifting too heavy too often. And I've been really lucky. I've come back from so many different back injuries, but like, if I didn't, what would I be doing? I'd be out there preaching like, you should never do a deadlift. Like, if I never came back, like from, I've hurt my back on good mornings. I hurt my back on deadlifts. I hurt my back on squats very, very severely, to the point where like getting out of bed and like going to the bathroom and like even just the smallest tasks were really difficult, like holding on to counters and needing to support myself with my hands and being very cautious getting in and out of the car, like doing stuff really slowly. I fucked myself up so many times, and luckily shit healed up. And I'm very fortunate. But if it didn't, I would be the first person out there being like, don't fucking deadlift, like, ever. Don't touch that shit because it ruined me. But meanwhile, it might not have been the exercise. It might have been my execution, because I was lifting too heavy too often. And I would even say, when it comes to a power lifter, usually the best people that I've seen, it's really rare for them to miss lifts. And it's not only rare for them to miss a lift, it's rare for them to be compromised. And you probably see this in jiu-jitsu, where you're like, man, especially when you're first going to jiu-jitsu, you're like, that fucking guy, he barely breaks a sweat. I don't know how he does it. And he's the best guy in the whole room by far. It's like not even a question. His technique is impeccable. He's like always in control. And also there he is. He like fucking rarely gets hurt. Things are going to happen. You're dealing with other people's bodies when you talk about like jiu-jitsu and some other sports. So things can get a little weird here and there. But most of the people, like, they're at like 90%. 95%, they're not really redlining it. And that's what you need to be really cautious of, because you can get hurt doing anything.
Absolutely.
Like, we can say, hey, let's ditch the deadlift and let's only do kettlebell swings. I would say you can fuck your back up just as much with a kettlebell swing.
You can.
That's like, okay, well, now what do we do for our back? Like, let's not hip hinge at all. It's like, that doesn't sound like a good idea, because I think we need to build some resilience, right?
I agree. And one big thing, like, let's look at the kettlebells real quick before we get back to the deadlift. But with kettlebells, I know so many people who, like, they've done kettlebell swings and they've messaged me being like, man, my lower back hurts when I do kettlebell swings. So I've been like, okay, what kind of weight are you using? How are you swinging it? And one common theme throughout that is, like, number one, the weight they're swinging is too heavy for them, even though they can swing it. And their swinging pattern isn't the best for their back. So once they lighten the load, start swinging correctly, then slowly increase to using a heavier load on swings, I don't feel back pain anymore. Same type of idea with the deadlift. But one thing, when I was lifting heavy, my main thing was I always looked at myself as like, I'm not durable. Because I'd see athletes lifting and struggling with certain lifts, and even though they're heavy, I always said, that looks impressive, but I'd never let myself get to a point where I struggle that much with the lift, because I think I'd just pop my shit, because I have popped my shit before, right? So that's why whenever I did lifts, if the lift wasn't clean, if the lift didn't look the same, if I wasn't relaxed, when I say relaxed, if I didn't feel like I can do this without shaking or whatever, I didn't fucking touch it. And I could tell that by warming up to lifts. So that might be a pussy way of looking at it, because I looked at myself as being fragile. But that's one reason why when I did start lifting heavier weights, it always looked smooth and it always looked relaxed and it never looked like a struggle, because my body was ready to lift that shit, right? But when you're trying to get strong really fast, you don't stay away from that. And you sometimes look at the struggle as being beneficial when you're shaking with the bar and whatever. I just never thought I was durable enough for that because I was always like, I'm gonna break myself if I do that shit.
Yeah, and I think some deadlifting, like I think that in general, I think if you don't know how to deadlift, I don't think that you should deadlift. And I don't think you should go out and experiment on how to deadlift without watching a YouTube video, having a coach, having someone that can at least watch a video after you do it and you use really, really light weights.
Yeah.
I think it is something that it's like, however, one of the most important things you can do in the gym is learn how to bench, squat, and deadlift. So even though these exercises are, they can be dangerous, learning how to hip hinge and learning how to squat, those are amazing tools.
Mm-hmm.
I can't even really think of a sport where I wouldn't advise that. Like if someone came in here and they're like, I want to be better at soccer, I want to be better at football, I want to be better at this, I want to be better at that. If they didn't have much experience with squats, it's not the first place I would start them. I would start them out with a lot of other exercises. And I want to see how they move and stuff like that. But sure enough, week 3, week 4 comes around. I'm like, let me show you how to squat. Let's do some really high box squats. I want to see what the movement pattern looks like. We're going to go with some really lightweight. And over a period of time, I'm going to teach you how to do a squat. I'm going to teach you how to hip hinge, how to do a deadlift. So that way they know how to kind of protect themselves with some of these movements that some of these movements are beneficial. You know, some of these movements are beneficial, like a bent over row and some of these other movements that you might want to get into at some other point, or even just trying to brace yourself on a field or court, whatever it is where you're trying to deal with other people's forces. You can look at like a bent over row as a way to like deal with somebody else's forces. When you lower the weight and the weight goes down towards your feet, that would be, you know, similar to, I don't know, someone trying to tackle you and bring you down, or you trying to tackle somebody else, or whatever it might be. And so you're dealing with somebody else's weight. And how do you mimic that? You can't always mimic it by just like grabbing on somebody else and like picking them up, unless you're in a sport where you grapple often. So that's kind of the way I would look at it. I think that benching, squatting, and deadlifting can be extremely dangerous. I think knowing how to do them is a huge positive and a huge net gain for anyone. And when you say the general public, one of the biggest ailments in this country is back pain. And I think the way through it is the same way you get through having feet that are messed up. It's the same way that you get through anything else. The only way to get through it is to go through it directly and to say, how do I train my back? You say, okay, well, the deadlift seems like a pretty good exercise, but maybe I shouldn't be deadlifting from the floor right away. Maybe I should learn how to brace. Maybe I should learn how to pick something up, get some weight in my back. Maybe not even a deadlift is a great place to start, but maybe something that looks like a deadlift, 45-degree back raise, a hyperextension of some sort, a reverse hyperextension, a good morning. And what's wrong with doing, people kind of have forgotten about like RDLs, like just like a Romanian deadlift or a deadlift holding dumbbells. That's a great movement. When I was getting into all this stuff, that was like recommended and prescribed in every single workout. 3 sets of 10, 3 sets of 15 with dumbbells. What's a dumbbell do? Dumbbells are amazing because you can keep them right by your side the whole time. That's how I was taught how to do it. My coach was like, when you do a deadlift, the bar is always out in front of you. The advantage of using the dumbbells is you can kind of keep it more on your sides. And he wanted me to like scrape my legs, scrape my quads, the side of my quads with the weight and just keep drifting my hips back. And I would just do a hip hinge, and it was a kind of a partial range of motion. I wasn't trying to go down real deep because my coach wanted it more like hammies and glutes. And it felt fucking amazing. And it's almost like a trap bar deadlift.
Yeah.
Back then, the trap bar deadlift wasn't like a popular thing. So there's many ways to try to figure out how to do a movement like that and how to strengthen your back in some of those ranges of motion.
Power Project family, how's it going? Now, we love these fucking legendary tasty pastries, and
Love
you already
them.
know how good they are, but I want a hot tip for you. I want to give you a hot tip. Number 1,
Hot heat.
when you eat these things, 20 grams of protein, 5 grams of net carbs, put it in the microwave for 15 seconds. All right, we've talked about how it can fit any single diet because it's high protein, very low carb. But if you put it in the microwave for 15 seconds, my fucking God, it will melt in your mouth. I highly suggest you could do this with any flavor, but if you can get your hands on the hot fudge sundae, oh, baby, Andrew, you're the one who put me on this shit, man.
Yes, seriously, you guys have to try this, but please do not microwave it for more than 15 seconds because the inside turns nuclear. But to me, this tastes like an old school chocolate donut. For some reason, when you microwave it, it completely changes the flavor and it changes it for the better. But you guys got to head over to eatlegendary.com and at checkout, enter promo code powerproject to save 20% off your entire order. Again, that's at eatlegendary.com. Links to them down in the description as well as the podcast show notes. Let's get back to this podcast.
Just got to be responsible with the load you use. Again, it's like there are these things, benchmarks that you see on social media, the 500-pound deadlift, or nowadays it's like the 600, right, or the 700. And again, if you're just doing this because you enjoy lifting and you want to lift some heavy weights, you got to think, okay, what am I getting from trying to do that? Or if you really want to do it, I'm not going to discourage anybody from trying to get a 500, 600, 7-pound deadlift. But again, if you're not competing, give yourself time to head towards that and make sure that when you're working with weights, you're working responsibly. You're not supposed to be picking up a bar and fucking shaking up and down as the bar is coming up. You're supposed to pick that bar up. It's supposed to be a smooth rise to your lockout and then back down. And if it's not looking like that, you don't have the ability, or you should not be working with that weight. That's just my suggestion. Some people would say you need to go through that struggle a little bit. Some may say that. I don't agree necessarily. I don't think there should be all of that shaking with a load. It just means you're not ready to handle it.
Yeah, I don't think you need anything too crazy. I do think that you do need a weight, though.
Yeah.
And that's where, like, and you can use pretty heavy dumbbells sometimes on certain things, but that's where, like, the barbells exercises, they're easy. They lend themselves to being a lot. A bench press, a squat, and a deadlift, they allow you to handle a good amount of weight.
Yeah.
That's the only reason why they're good exercises. A bench press is a really delicate thing. Like, it's probably the worst of the three, and probably the one that you need to be the most cautious with and the most careful with. It's just kind of a weird exercise, laying down, and you got both your arms going past the midline of your body. And for a dude, you're supposed to be able to do at least your body weight, and then as you get stronger, you're supposed to be able to do like double your body weight. It's like that gets to be that's a lot of fucking weight.
Yeah.
To press double your fucking body weight or 1.5 times your body weight, and to have there's no other situation in the real world where you ever would have weight on you with both your arms pinned back like that. Even if I was pushing on something, I would be doing so with the rest of my body. If I was pushing a car or had to push something to get something to move or had to defend myself, it's like I wouldn't only be pushing with my arms, and both my arms wouldn't be pinned back under any circumstance with that amount of weight. You can kind of make the same argument for some of the other movements too. And that's where, when you talk about a squat, while I think squatting is important and I think hip hinging is important, if we break down those movements and say, well, I don't really think that you always need to squat with a barbell on your back. But again, a barbell squat is a nice movement because it allows you to handle a lot of weight. Mm-hmm. With great power comes great responsibility. It's a fucking hard movement. It's difficult. So you have to be really cautious on how you organize your body. What we've been told too is we've been sold and told over and over again, full range of motion, full range of motion, full range of motion. Don't be a pussy, go all the way down. Mm-hmm. And that's where things get a little fuzzy. When we had the GOATA guys on here, I thought it was amazing how they Ricky pointed out, one of the best ways to fix the bottom of your squat is to start out at the top. And you don't hear people preaching that often, but it makes a lot of sense. It's like, if you don't have the fundamentals down of how you're going to descend in that first quarter or first half of your squat, how are you ever going to get down to the bottom? Well, I'll tell you how you're going to do it. You're going to collapse your ankle bones inside, your knees are going to track inward, and your back's going to round, and you're going to throw your hands forward like this. That's how you get down to the bottom. And it's like, that's not a great way to try to do that with a bunch of weight on your back. Mm-hmm. And then so we end up with other movements. We end up with things like a front squat. You end up with, just squatting and doing a goblet squat, trying to hold on to a kettlebell and squatting downward and squatting on a slant board. Like, there's a lot of different things. But if you want to be big and strong, good luck trying to be big and strong without some of the fundamental exercises that have been around forever. A bench press, a squat, a deadlift, a bent over row, a seated row, a military press.
You think they're necessary? Like necessary to be.
Here's why I think they're necessary, is because it allows for an overload. It allows you to handle a good amount of weight. So if you're a young guy getting into the gym and let's say you're a young guy getting into the gym and you can deadlift 225 pounds and you can bench 135 and you can squat 225. Like those are all pretty good weights to be able to handle, like to have that weight on your body, to have that overload. I don't know else how you're going to mimic it. It's not to say that you can't get a similar amount of volume by swinging around a kettlebell and by doing some other things. I just haven't really seen people build themselves up that well through that, but it is a possibility. And I think when you build yourself up to be stronger, all the intensity and all the volume that you're able to handle increases through the roof because now you're stronger on everything. If you have a stronger grip from doing your deadlifts, then you might have a stronger back for all the different rowing movements that you do. Mm-hmm. So that's where I would think, can you achieve the same thing by like just loading up pretty good on like a lat pull down? And I have seen some bodybuilders get really fucking big by using lighter weights. However, I think most of those people started their career with heavier weights and then realized that they didn't need them as much after they already built a pretty big frame.
Yeah.
Again, I'm not saying it's impossible because like that is just the way that I grew up in this sport, and that's just what I've seen. It doesn't mean that it's the gospel, and doesn't mean it's the end of the story.
I will, there's an aspect to that where, I do think that somebody can get big with just dumbbells, but I do think that there is something to overloading with barbells, because that's what I found for myself. For the first few years of my training, I didn't do anything with a barbell. It was pure dumbbells. Just because the little gym I went to, there wasn't really that much space to do stuff with barbells. And for me, that was a little bit intimidating. There weren't as many guides or whatever, so I was doing everything, like dumbbell deadlifts, dumbbell benching, dumbbell everything. And I would work up to some pretty heavy dumbbells. But I did find when I did start doing the back squat, the barbell back squat, when I did start doing some deadlifting, I was able to get through a few plateaus when it came to the volume that I was working with when it came to dumbbell work. It's like I had a different capacity for what I was able to work with in the longer run. Like it's like I had another set of newbie gains. That's how I looked at it. Because like when my deadlift started getting stronger, I started to notice, well, my back is getting thicker. Deadlift isn't necessarily a back workout though, but it did, like the certain aspects of my back started to get bigger and thicker because I was doing heavier and heavier weight when it did come to the deadlift. So although like I think they're probably those movements I don't think are bad. I think that if you're an athlete and you have a specific athletic goal, overdoing those movements is not really going to be that beneficial for you.
I agree 100% on that.
But if you are someone who is trying to stack on as much muscle as humanly possible, and that is your goal, those barbell movements can help unlock a little bit more volume over time. And that's just my N of one. I know of quite a few people who've experienced the same thing, but wherever you are on this journey, try some of that shit out for yourself and see what happens.
And looking aesthetic and athletic is a little bit of a different category than like
being that way.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
And there have been bodybuilders that have come across over the years that have been athletic, that can on stage do like backflips and they express some really crazy like mobility and stuff. And you're like, holy shit, that's incredible. But a lot of times the extra bulk and the extra size and the effort that it takes to put on the extra bulk and extra size oftentimes will lead to some compromises in your athleticism. Where you start to get into like some real crazy freak mode is like when you start to see someone like Chris Bumstead, squatting like 6-7 plates. I believe I want to say I've seen him deadlift 7 plates before.
He's
like
deadlifted 7 plates before, yeah. It's
disgusting how strong he is. And then you're like, well, if it's going to be that strong, then Of course, he's got like the body that would look that strong, and then you're like, wait a second, he doesn't have a waist either. This is unfair. He's got a giant back. He's got giant biceps, giant chest. He looks amazing. And he's a guy that has been able to blend stuff together really well. Here he is doing a dunk. Kaboom.
That land was super.
I know. I texted him. I was like, "What was the price? How much did that landing cost you?" He's like, "It fucking hurt."
I think I saw Phil Heath comment on that post. Phil Heath left a comment on that post like, "Hey, just remember what the goal is when you're doing this shit out here." You know? Oh my God.
And I'm sure, like, he'd be a great person to, I really hope one day we get an opportunity to meet him and have him on the show.
Former soccer player.
It would be great to, you've got that athletic background,
Mm-hmm.
Look at these squats. I mean, these are picture perfect. It's just like.
I like it. Yeah, he's like equivalent to 135 pound squat since Smith machine is cheating. Shit.
The other thing I'd say too is like, if you are somebody that are trying to use some of the movements to gain a lot of size, a squat or a deadlift, then I would definitely suggest that you at least try to work with some partial range of motions just to see how you like it. Mm-hmm. Because the partial range of motion stuff, like so let's just say that from the very beginning, whenever you did barbell movements, when they were light and you were warming up, you did some full range of motion. But as soon as they got a little heavier, you either did a box squat or you did a bench press maybe with a slingshot on, or you did a partial range of motion by benching to some boards or something like that with heavier weights. Mm-hmm. And then anytime you worked your way up with some deadlifts, you did a partial range of motion with a deadlift as well. I think that would be an amazing recipe for somebody to build a lot of strength, whether they're young or whether they're old, and for somebody to build a body that that has a good amount of muscle mass on it without the compromise. Because in my thought process of it is, you're only going through these shorter range of motions with these heavier weights. But when the weights are lighter, you're still getting the expression of the full range of motion. And then on top of that, it'd be really smart to do the rest of your workout with body weight movements. Maybe you do dips. Maybe you do pull-ups. Maybe you do push-ups. Maybe you do walking lunges. Maybe you do a farmer's carry. Maybe you start to employ some other athleticism in your workout where you're swinging a med ball against the wall and you got to catch it and react to it. Because we've talked before on the show about there's not really much reaction, in the gym. There's not much reflexive or reflex work going on. And it'd be cool to try to use some of that. Maybe you punch a heavy bag for a little while so you get some good rotation work in. Or maybe you do some twists with a cable. It's like now it sounds like, and maybe a little bit of dumbbell or kettlebell work. It's like now it seems like you've worked in these normal planes of motion, these normal ranges of motion that people have been doing for years and years to build strength. Now it seems like you're doing some of these other things that people have utilized for many years to build muscle mass. Now you're also utilizing and employing things that people have done over and over again to build some athleticism. Sounds like you got the making of a really good program at that point, in my opinion.
And there's an aspect that I think is maybe a little bit overlooked because there are, for example, using the deadlift or a squat and overloading these movements a bit. Number one, you're not able to really work with weights that heavy with other movements, even on cable machines, right? But when I think of something like a front squat or a back squat versus something like a cable sissy squat, although you do feel the cable sissy squat in your quads, there's an aspect of the load being on your back or in your front for the front squat that when you feel it afterwards, you do feel compressed. And although there are probably different ways for you to actually have some decompression, hanging, doing glute ham raise or something to decompress the body, you need something like that. The bone density benefits from doing those types of movements that are super heavy are things that I don't think you can necessarily get from doing like lighter kettlebells as much as I like kettlebells or doing stuff on cables. Like there's proof to show that like doing those types of movements that really compact the body can have a benefit on your bone density, and that's pretty good for longevity. I don't think that I'd have the bone density I have, or that you'd have the bone density that you have, or a lot of these other powerlifters like Chris
and
Duffin.
the traps and stuff like that. I mean, my traps are still like kind of big, but like they used to be nuts.
And same.
From holding all those heavy weights on my back, they were crazy. And everyone's always like, "What do you do for your traps?" I'm like, "I just pick up heavy stuff.
I bench."
So, so this is the thing. Even myself, I'm doing things to kind of bring back some squatting, bring back elements of squatting, bring back elements of deadlifts. But I have ways that I decompress afterwards. I have ways and I have things that I do in terms of like just hanging straight off a bar, all the gymnastics shit I do nowadays. I have ways that I'm able to decompress the body after doing all that spinal loading. And if you're someone who cares about the way you move long run, but you do want to do these movements, then add in some movements afterwards that's going to loosen you up a little bit so you don't stay perpetually like this and every movement you do is super stiff. Unless you're a competing powerlifter and you need to be that stiff for your sport, if you want to move well, have things that'll allow you to express that movement outside of your barbell work so you can have the best of both worlds, because we want it all.
I think that's where we're at with fitness too. There's a lot less people that are all in on powerlifting. It seems like, there's still incredible powerlifters out there. There's still people fucking crushing it. But it seems like that wave of how many people, like there was a lot of people getting into powerlifting. There was a lot of people that were like all in terms of all the other things they did to be the best powerlifter they could be. People, going as far as using performance enhancing drugs and thinking that was the best way for them to go about doing it. You just don't see that as much anymore. You're seeing a little bit more. There's obviously like the TRT crowd and stuff like that, and there's people getting stuff prescribed. And
the young cats seem to just be really into the aesthetic thing.
Yeah, right. That's my main point, is like the aesthetic thing seems to be taking off, and then it's like, well, if I'm gonna look good, it would be pretty cool if I can like perform well and stuff, and I don't walk around with a hurt back, or I can get my arm up over my head, and I can have some sort of athletic performance. And it seems like that's where most of it's going, and that's why I think we're going to continue to see a big shift in what's going on in fitness. And you're not going to see as much people gravitating towards the barbell stuff. But the barbell stuff, I think will always be a fundamental part, or at least it should be. It should be heavily considered, just for the simplicity of how you can overload your body with it.
Andrew, what do you think about that? Because I know you've been really big into Brignole and stuff. I know that when you've gone too deep into like deadlifting too heavy, it has led to injury. So what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, well, first with like that like statement. So like I have hurt myself in a squat. I've never hurt myself in a deadlift.
Okay, that's good.
I've felt pain from a deadlift, right? Because that hinging movement does cause pain, but I've never done a deadlift and like collapsed like that picture, like it's never happened like that. That did happen with the squat. But so it's tough, right? Because it's I'm not going to say conflicting views, because like the stuff I've learned has been like super beneficial for myself, right? Like I'm able to work out every day and not be in pain, make a lot of progress. And then I'm able to come here and still like move around in the gym with you guys, like, and I know the stuff we're doing is not too, we're not exerting too much energy most of the time, but like, I'm not like dragging my feet as I walk in. I feel good. The workouts are making me feel better. Some days when I would come and train here, like at 4 a.m, whether myself or with others, I would like text Stephanie and be like, dude, today was a fantastic workout. Everything felt good. It was fucking awesome. And then other days, and I'm not talking about pain, I'm just talking about like general stimulus. I would text her and be like, yeah, I don't know, today wasn't as good. And like, I couldn't figure out why. And it's because maybe some of the movements weren't just vibing well with my body. And I just not as experienced. But now with the knowledge I do have from like Doug Brignole and, biomechanics and stuff, like I can put together workouts that make more sense. So again, kind of going back to like, I'm not saying like we're going to debate any of it, but like when you're saying, like decompress after a workout compresses you, because of where I'm at, I would say like, I don't want to even get compressed at all right now.
I can understand that.
So
I can understand that.
Yeah, there's that. But I also want to live healthy and long. And I understand the, importance of having a good, strong bone density, because when we got our DEXA scans, I think mine was like right at like normal, you know, like, and then yours was like, they couldn't even measure yours.
Yeah.
Ryan was like, whatever the end range was, he was like right there too. And he's done powerlifting for a very long time, and he's super jacked, and I mean, I don't know what like his like injury background, but I have seen him injured, but he's always feeling really good. So there's a huge part of me that wants to get under the bar for a squat again. Like it would be cool just to squat, bench, and dead my body weight, which I know I can do it, but can I do it without taking any steps backwards?
Limiting depth, I think so. Like
yeah, absolutely, yeah, for sure. And then just also like mobility and my just understanding my body. Like I'd be able to squat way better now than before.
Yeah.
Once I grease the groove and kind of start feeling things again. But like as of right now, doing GOTA stuff, doing the myofascial release stuff with Doug Brignole's workouts, like I'm in a really good spot right now.
Yeah.
I do have some days where my back's just like, hey, like, you know, you're still not completely done with me yet. Like I'm still gonna keep fighting you, but it's gotten so much better. Like if you go back a year ago, I'm already way better. Go back a few months ago, I'd say I'm a lot better now. Still, you know, like still improving even from like that short of time. But yeah, so when it comes to like the squat and the deadlift, because of how I've been feeling and what I know about like my body and I guess how my body works, I don't see myself doing those anytime soon. With the deadlift, probably a trap bar just to see how it goes.
Yeah.
And then with the squat, I don't know. I'm not sure right now. Yeah, I would rather do some cable sissy squats if I want to get a good quad pump, and then a couple of other things for my legs, but it wouldn't be my first choice.
A back squat, again, is another movement that doesn't really make a lot of sense. You know, from a squat makes sense. Like we can all agree that people still squat. We know about like the 10-minute squat. We know about like people rest, like a squat is a way to rest.
Yes.
But to put a weight on your back and then to try to figure out all you're trying to do when you do a lot of these movements, you're trying to mitigate the stress that's being thrown at you. And so then you're like, well, let me contort my chest way up like this. Let me pull my rib cage up, and let me pull my shoulder blades down really hard. And then you're like this, and it's like, well, why? Like that's not a normal. You know what I mean?
Like an old-timey boxer.
Yeah, you just got in this really funky position, and now you're trying to stabilize that through a range of motion, and you're asking your knees and your hips to bend quite a bit, and then there's like a little bit of a hip hinge in there, and it's like there's going to be like compromises all over the place. So they're interesting movements, but how do you mitigate that? How do you figure that out? It's like, well, maybe you use different barbells. Maybe like I don't know if there's a reason to really ever use a regular bar, especially with all the bars that we have in here. The other bars just allow you to, like the cambered bar, the things down here, it allows you to kind of be a little bit more neutral with the spine rather than like having to like overarch to get wedged into position properly, I guess. And then like a safety squat bar just kind of allows you, it's almost like you're holding kettlebells or something. Like it allows for a much different style of squat. So I think there's like a lot of different ways to try to figure out how to make these movements feel a little bit more natural. And then also like I'm a pretty big proponent of some of the stuff by Joel Seedman. I think he has a lot of good points. Why not do these ranges of motion in shorter, why not utilize shorter ranges of motion? I know people get all concerned about like, how deep you're supposed to go with these movements, but I think he brings up a lot of good points.
Yeah. And then also like being able to sit and rest comfortably in like an ancestral squat gets me more fired up than squatting 315. Like right. I know a lot of people think that that's lame, but that's where I'm going because I don't want to be in pain anymore. And I just feel like if I can chill down there comfortably with my feet straight the way that Ricky does, that would be so fucking cool. Like I'm excited for that.
I think over time though, you'll be able to do both. I'm not even saying 315, I mean like in a 185, 225 squat. Like over time, you'll be able to do both. Like you'll get
Right.
into that amazing position, and then you'll be able to get into that amazing position with a different type of bar on your back, right? And then you'll have tools. Because we already have tools, because you know how Goda's all like they're not about that. But we have tools that'll allow us not to have those movements mess our movement up.
Yeah.
So we can have it all.
When you were deadlifting heavy-ish, like you did what, like a 3-something deadlift, right?
Yeah. So the goal was like just to see if I can get to 315, but then like I was repping 315 for multiple sets, and I never went above that. I don't remember why I didn't. Maybe you stopped me. But yeah, I remember repping 315 for like multiple sets of 10, and like not really struggling with it either. Like it was a good stimulus, and I had to try, but it wasn't like a shaky like grinder. You know, it was pretty easy for me.
And we were at a pretty good streak back then with your back. Your back was pretty good, right?
Yeah, it was good. Again,
Just
like I
get
said,
like stiff here and there.
it would
kind
get
of thing.
stiff, and I always wore a belt for literally everything.
Don't you love that guy though that you see in the gym, like bicep curls with his belt? Don't you love that dude?
Yeah. Well, he was. I think he was trap bar deadlifting this morning.
Oh, someone here?
No.
Oh, at your gym?
At the other gym that I go
Okay.
to. Yeah.
Okay.
No, he was there today.
Oh, man.
Yeah, but he will do a lot of shit with that belt on. But yeah, so I was belted up all the time. We did a lot of box squats. Yeah, the main thing there was like you always were there to keep my weights in check, so that was always helpful. Even though I kind of already knew.
I remember telling you, I'm like, you're not gonna get hurt.
Yeah,
I won't let you get hurt.
right, exactly. And then we would do trap bar stuff, but I was always belted up, and I wasn't doing anything that just caused more pain. You know, was I doing stuff that got me out of pain? I think it's pretty safe to say, yeah. Again, doing that hip hinge and like what you said, like working through it, I think it definitely was, but I still ended up regressing. I'm not sure why.
Right.
I'm not sure what happened.
Yeah, at some point when we stopped doing it, I think then you kind of, we were training together a lot. We were doing some of the bodybuilding shit together and stuff, and then, but you had to find your own way too. You know, I think that's important because you were saying like, we had a whole crew coming in super early, and I kind of recognized that like some of the people I was working out with, like they needed that 4 a.m., 4:30 workout. Otherwise, they like wouldn't do any fitness on their own at all. And it wasn't so much you, but it was kind of more the other people. And I was like, that's not great. And plus, I needed to work on some other stuff. So I'm like, I need to sleep more. I need to be with my family a little bit more because those early workouts like that, they shut my day down too early. Then I'm not with my kids as much. So it's like, I don't want any compromises with that. So I switched things around and got my sleep to be better. But I think everyone needs to kind of, you have to find your own way. You have to find your own way. So you finding stuff to do at home and figuring out your own path. Now you have your own path, and now there's no issue with consistency anymore.
No, and
Where,
that,
a couple years ago, that was an issue for you.
Oh yeah, that's totally fair because you know, like we'd have a guest on or something, and I'd be like, oh, I'm gonna do that, or I'm gonna do kettlebells. And it's like I was always just looking for just something like you said, just to keep my interest level high and just keep me engaged. And sometimes like the powerlifting stuff, like I would get kind of wrecked at the end of the day because like we would just do too much. Like when I trained with the team. Fuck those workouts, dude. Oh my gosh.
Those guys always do a lot of shit.
They do a lot. I heard somebody in the gym talking about, I forgot, like I just kind of was, you know.
I've never trained that hard, by the way.
Dude, oh my God,
I've
dude.
never done what they do a lot of shit. They do a lot of
Those
exercise.
workouts.
Team training?
Yeah. Oh my gosh, dude. Those workouts would absolutely wreck me. Like I just wouldn't even want to drive home. I'd just be like, fuck it, I'm just going to go to sleep. Like,
I was like a 4 exercise guy. That's about what I got. Maybe a superset snuck in here and there. But Smokey, man, he loves to train. He'll go in there. He'll do 7, 8 exercises, and they're all hard.
yeah.
But let's
He goes hard on them.
let's correct some of this shit though, because you're saying that. But when you were training, the loads you were lifting, the loads you were going with on a lot of your days were heavy fucking loads that are extremely fatiguing.
Yeah.
It's not like you're going to like 400 or whatever. I'm not saying those are light loads either, but you were going up to some pretty wild loads when you were lifting. Now,
It's very time consuming too.
very time consuming. Even now though, when you're lifting in the gym, you are doing lifts in the gym and then you're running for a few miles.
Right.
So like let's not get this mixed up. Like your workouts now, you're doing a lot, although it's spread throughout the day.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
So
Agreed.
but
So,
go ahead.
I was just saying, because like I heard somebody in the gym talking about, I forgot what day, like if it's deadlift day, like or like bench press day, but they were talking to each other about how like they'll be thinking about it throughout the whole day, like kind of dreading it. And I was just like, yeah, I remember being like, fuck, like whatever day it was, and then like Jesse would switch it up and be like, fuck, I didn't want to squat today or whatever. Like I wouldn't be excited. And then now it's like every morning, like I'll beat my alarm and just be like, oh, okay, it's time to get going, you know, because like now I look forward to it, whereas before that wasn't necessarily the case.
You know, one thing we do need to talk about soon, though, is like as much as we're talking about, oh, you know, you don't have to be in like getting out of pain, you don't have to be in pain for a lot of the things you do. A lot of the things that we've been getting into and a lot of the things that we're doing, there's an initial part where there's a little bit of pain and you're brushing upon discomfort for weeks, especially when you get into some of these new ranges of motion. Like your body doesn't like it. It doesn't feel good necessarily, right? So it's important to understand that like, although, yeah, the gym should help you feel good, when you are opening up new capacities, there is a period of time where you don't feel comfortable, where you don't feel 100%, where it doesn't feel good. Like there was a period where as I was doing some of the stuff with my feet, the tendons in my feet were sore because I was purposefully overdoing things to bring about fast change, right? So, you know, Kador and Ido, both of them are saying injury is necessary and injury is good. That's a funny one, which hopefully we'll talk about soon. But
But you're right. There's too much, and I've said this before. Like, insert body part. Oh, it didn't like that. I'm not going to do that now. It's like, well, the whole goal of all of this isn't to just be comfortable all the time. You know, you got to create that stress and go through it and then improve. Because if not, then you're just going to turn into Jello.
Man, the thing is, adaptation's a real fucking thing. When we're doing all this shit, it's like it hurts for day one, maybe hurts on day two, maybe hurts for a few weeks, and then your body adapts, and then you just spring into some of these movements like it's a part of you. But the initiation period, like with anything, is not pretty.
Yeah.
How do you find something that you
Okay, you're 45.
How do you find something that you liked?
You find something you liked on IG.
You got to go to your thingy and then call the guy.
Let's see.
You got to click. How do you do this shit?
Maybe go to
You got to go to your profile, right? No?
photos and videos.
Dude, what's with these fucking guys doing these like tricks in the gym? Like it's just getting insane. The it's Dream World or whatever. That guy's fucking
Yeah, it's Dreams World.
That guy's insane. And there's like another guy who's doing shit. He's hanging off everything.
I know who you're talking about. Fuck, I forgot his. I forgot his handle.
What's
But I
that
follow
guy's
him.
name? He does stuff that's so dangerous.
Yeah, his shit. Like he'll have like 10 dumbbells stacked, and then he'll be doing push-ups off of like them when he's up in the air. And if that shit falls, he's splashing on the ton of dumbbells, but he hasn't fallen yet apparently, or maybe he has and just been off camera.
I saw a really sick video with Method Man. He was being interviewed.
Did you talk about me?
Yeah, he talked a lot about you. He was
Oh shit!
he was talking about getting over the hump.
Mm-hmm.
Check this out. 5 years ago. Oh, this is a memory. Look at how jacked we are. That's fucking cool.
Back when we used to train.
Back when we used to sure. Check this out.
Was it a picture that I took? Oh, I think I did. Actually, no. This might just be a cell phone picture. But I remember being there.
Oh, that's back when you get fired all the time because the
Yeah.
cell phone pictures were getting good.
Yeah, and that was like an iPhone 8 right there.
You get released.
I got fired so much. But I remember doing the photo shoot for that tank top.
Mm-hmm.
Mark was doing strongman movements. I remember shit. I remember photos.
I'm gonna add that to my story. That's
You
cute.
won't.
I don't know how to.
You guys were jacked. What happened?
I don't know, bro.
We're old.
I don't know, bro.
Old and fat.
Okay.
I don't know how you can find your likes.
Yeah, I used to be able to do that on Instagram, right? Remember? Ooh, y'all remember when?
There has to be a way.
Y'all remember Instagram always fucking told on you, where it would show like when you
It's
like
great
something.
when it tells people that you don't follow them anymore, right?
But you remember when you used to like something, but then people would be
It
able to
would
see
show up.
Mark Smellybell liked this photo, Andrew Z liked this photo.
Uh-huh.
I'd be super careful what I like. 'Cause I'm like, Man, it would be looking good if my girl saw that I like that photo. Let me just unlike that shit.
There's some side boob hanging out here. Maybe I should. But like, you can't help but like it.
Why'd you like that photo?
You're like, I really like this.
Look at how well her clothes fit. That's all.
Yeah.
I was wanting to get that for you,
She's
babe.
explaining a lot of great stuff about nutrition. It was awesome.
I just liked it as a bookmark so I can go back to my likes and get you whatever she was wearing.
Yeah.
There is a way, I just can't figure it out. But
I thought you guys would be great friends.
My cousin, she like works with a lot of influencers for like various companies and stuff. And so like they would all follow her. So when they would like her stuff, she would get hella followers because like these influencers have like millions of followers and they're like, what the fuck? They're all liking this girl's picture. And it's like just like simple like food stuff or whatever. And so she was like, when that shit went away, I just all of a sudden stopped getting followers. Like, yep, that's what happens.
But so what are you looking for, Mark? So we can see what we can
Maybe we
figure
just
this
find
shit out.
it. Yeah.
Yo, bring up the clip of Shannon Sharpe in the meantime.
Oh, yes.
Of him using the slang
Yes,
shot.
sir. Let's see here.
Dude, I'm a huge Shannon Sharpe
Actually, no, let me
fan.
do it this way.
I've been a fan of his for forever.
Shannon Sharpe.
Yeah, there he is doing some bench pressing, getting after it, throwing around some fucking weight.
He's on steroids.
He played, fucking 15 years in the NFL? The guy's a savage. And
he's
then,
on steroids, Mark.
Oh, he's on fucking tons of steroids. Kidding me?
I am actually kidding you.
Oh,
He invented
You weren't supposed
them.
to go along with that joke.
Oh. He's natty.
Oh, man. He looks like
Look
he's
at that.
30, man.
Slingshot.
He's incredible. He's incredible. Yeah, that's all anyone can ever talk about, right?
Oh, is that the money shot?
That's the money shot. And here he is doing some reps. But he talked about how he just started bench pressing a couple of weeks back, and the bench is moving really well.
So this is cool. So somebody, let's see, at Way with Numbers. Hi, Shannon. How are those bands useful? And then Shannon Sharpe replies, you can handle heavier weight, more reps to prepare your body to lift heavier weight. Perfect answer to what the slingshot does.
Yeah, he's selling it for me, man.
Fuck
He's
yeah.
trying to make that commission.
Yeah. He's got that affiliate link.
I was trying to find a clip of Method Man. He put it together so nicely about getting over the hump. And he basically, since I don't know how to find it, somebody interviewed him and he was just answering the question and he was like driving in his car. But he said that he never knew what anybody was talking about when they talked about the hump. He didn't work out enough to even get to like a hump. He would like work out and he would stop. He'd work out and stop. Then he started to work out and he got more into it. And then he all of a sudden one day realized that there was a hump that he went over and that he started being consistent with it, but he like doesn't know how he got over the hump. He just knows that he heard people talk about like, you got to get over the hump when it comes to like nutrition, or you got to get over the hump when it comes to your diet. And he was always confused by that. But then one day he just, once he was over the hump, he recognized that he was able to pass through one or jump over one or whatever.
You just
It's
mentioned
just really interesting.
That's the whole podcast right there. We have to go find that video and we have to talk about that because
He nailed it so eloquently. I was like, man, he fucking just summed that shit up so good. Well, of course he did, right? He's really good with words and has been for decades, right?
but most people don't give themselves the time to get over the hump. It's like, I had a buddy that tried jiu-jitsu for a bit. He didn't get over the hump, and he quit before he got over the hump because he was just like, it's not for me. But I saw him every day practicing, and I was like, dude, you didn't get over that hump where it became something you really liked.
It's slow.
It's slow. There's not always an enjoyment right there, right then, even the first few weeks. It's like there's a hump you got to get over. But once you're over that hump, everything feels good. And same with lifting, same with so much shit. We got to talk about that.
I can find the saved.
There are things too, like where you like sometimes you work out and the feeling of a workout can be so compelling that you maybe show up again. But then like I think you're expecting too much shit to happen.
Yeah.
And so like then you have your shirt off or you see a picture of yourself and you're like, I don't know if that's really doing anything.
Oh, I hate that feeling.
Or the same thing with like a diet. You know, you can be on a diet for a couple days, and sometimes you start to feel like it's worked really well. You're like, oh, I'm starting to look a little better, got a little momentum going. But I think I think that we celebrate some of these feels a little too much, a little too early. And it's not about the feeling. It's not about that stuff. It's going to be really long term. You know,
Yes.
you feeling a little skinnier on Monday because you did pretty good from the previous Monday. Like that shit doesn't matter that much. That's cool that you feel good. That's great. That's a really great place to be. But the fact that you feel a little skinnier, that's not what you should hang your hat on. Because tomorrow you're going to probably feel fatter. Or if you screw up on your diet, you're going to not feel great about it. You're going to feel kind of ashamed. Like, man, I ate shitty over the weekend. I gained 4 pounds. You're going to be all sweating that 4 pounds, and you shouldn't put much into either one. It's like it's like a comment on Instagram. Don't put weight into people saying that you're great. Don't put weight into people saying that you suck. Anyway, I think that's that for today. Take us on out of here, Andrew.
Alrighty. Thank you, everybody, for checking out today's episode. Please drop us a comment down below, and make sure you guys hit the like button on the way out and subscribe if you guys are not subscribed. Follow the podcast at MB Power Project on Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter. My Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter is at I am Andrew Z. Nsima, where you at?
Discord. Go to the Discord. It's the links in the description. Find the penis pump. The links in the description. Nsima Inyang on Instagram and YouTube. And Nsima Inyang on TikTok and Twitter. Mark?
The penis pump.
Penis pump.
Have you talked to the most recent person that we had one sent out to?
Penis pump world champion?
Mm-hmm.
Tom Segura?
I wasn't going to say
Hey,
it.
how's that man's dick doing?
Oh, he's been
Did he send you any pics?
Oh, yeah.
Get some pictures, man.
Angry looking dick.
Yeah.
Oh.
The head is just pulsating. No, I don't think he's had an opportunity to mess with it yet. But
you need some privacy for that shit. That's a very intimate experience. You can't just be over here just and then your lady walks in like,
He's a comedian, though, and so is his wife.
yeah, but actually you're right.
it's not that
know?
bad if your wife walks in, but if your kids walk in, it's a little weird.
Yeah.
And
Especially
their
if you just
friends.
keep going.
Yeah.
Depends on what kind of friends they have.
How's it going?
It's a joke.
It could turn into a fucking party for all I know. Who knows?
Stop.
It's like, again? Sorry, guys.
Yeah, I had Tom Segura also has the tank, so maybe you could use the two in combination. Get that lower body training.
We got to
You
get...
could push the tank, have the penis pump hooked on.
Actually, that's a great exercise.
Do
One
a
hand on the
set.
tank, one hand on the pump, and just
Well, if
you know?
See?
if the tank people
Stabilizer.
just made a new mount for the penis pump, that way you can go hands free and still keep pushing.
what
Oh,
if you
yeah.
push it and when you push it powers the pump?
Oh shit!
There would have to be a release valve though, because if you push too hard, you could blow your dick up. So
Literally explode.
Yeah.
Blow it all out.
that's not good.
Hmm.
That's a bloody mess.
Ugh, that one hurts my stomach.
That hurt. Yeah. Every man just heard that and just winced.
Luckily, when you get the penis pump from the link below, it will come with a guide. So
Please
that way
follow
you
directions.
don't explode your dick. It comes with the program.
Guys.
But just pay attention to that program.
Does the program like talk about like whether you should like finish or not, or doesn't go that far?
Don't finish. Apparently, you're not supposed to.
I was like,
finish.
oh, that finish. Yeah, no, it says not to. Just that way
It does. It tells you in the instructions. We got to read the instructions on the air.
We will. I'll bring it. We'll read it on there. But please, men, if you do use the penis pump, just don't go over 10 millimolars, I think.
And also, don't try to
PSI.
hack yours the way that I did. That's not a good idea.
Yeah. If
It's PSI, not millimolars.
PSI. There you go.
I got the chip put in mine.
Nice.
Oh, you did?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So it's souped up.
Yeah.
It's got the base and everything.
You always got the Tesla shit.
Well,
Oh,
he
yeah.
had to get the electric one. So
Yeah.
like,
And
we're
free.
still in
Control it
old
from your
school.
phone. Still old school pumping over here. Yeah.
Can you use it from your phone?
They have some, I think they do have somewhere like there's an app.
That's great.
Yeah, but
You guys have the thing in your ass too at the same time, right?
funny enough.
Oh, God.
No, not at the same time.
Oh.
Yeah, we bought some stuff. Susan gave us some suggestions for things to buy, so we did. We did.
You'll have to let us know.
And that's all the time we got for today. Strength is never weak. This week is never strength. I'm at Mark Smelly Bell. Catch you guys later. Bye.